My name is Michael Pashut and I'm the proud owner of Change Cars and the host of the TV show All Things Motoring. But I'm even prouder today to say that I work with Alan Rosenmeyer from Motor Matters, better known as the man with a hat. If you're looking for the best reviews on all new vehicles, Motor Matters. If you're looking for the best deals on new or used cars, changecars.co.za, where every car is sold by a 5-star rated manufacturer approved dealer.
Spring may be approaching, but it's a really chilly, frosty, high-felt morning today. And you can probably hear it in my voice as well. Unfortunately, just got one of those, can we call it early spring bugs or colds or something. But anyway, that's not the point right now, because we've got the Subaru Crosstrek. Used to be known as the XV. There's been a model update, there have been some changes, and they changed the name to Crosstrek. So it's got the very typical Subaru front grille. Interesting feature is, if you come right in on the front bumper, you'll see it's almost got a carbon fiber effect on the front bumper, which is quite unusual and looks pretty good. And you've got, as has become so normal these days, your projection LED headlights, and then you've got a fog light down there, and of course you've got daytime running lights. You notice again the carbon fiber effect around that fog light, giving an interesting face to the car. You come around over here, and of course again, because of what it is, it's got lots of cladding, and you can see that very, very clearly. And you've got a very nice 18-inch alloy wheel over here. There's a bit of dust on the car because, remember, Subaru all-wheel drive. So I made sure I did a little bit of dirt road just to prove the all-wheel drive and the extra safety factor you get out of all-wheel drive. Another feature, and this is important again, if you want to take it off-road, is you've got ground clearance of 220 millimeters on this car. Doesn't quite look it, quite honestly, when I see it over here, but that's the figure according to Subaru, and I would always believe those figures. You come along over here, you've got nice roof racks on top, and they look pretty substantial, and they've gone again for the coupe-esque effect. Look at that incredibly sharp downturn towards the C-pillar in the rear of the car. So what I'm going to look at now quickly is I'm going to jump into the back seat, and let's see whether that compromises the back seat or not, because in some cars it does. So let's have a look. Now, the driver's seat is set for me. The passenger seat, you can see, is set in virtually the same position, so let's not worry about that. Well, legroom is pretty good. Headroom, I'm going to put a rating of okay on the headroom, not abundant or massive, but leave it at okay. What you do get in the back over here is 2 USBs, an A and a C, for the rear seat. So it's useful. You want both options, and there are, at least there are 2 of them, which I do like. So you get that, and that's good. A good feature as well, let's put it that way. Now we come around to the rear, and I must say, these split tail lights that run into the tailgate, but with body work in between over there, very unusual tail light effect, and these 2 sharp, almost fins you can call them, coming into the tailgate. Different, it's interesting, it looks good. You can see at the back over here, again, you've got obviously the skid plate over there. It's trying to keep on emulating this carbon fiber effect, which is an interesting effect, and I think it works pretty well. And you just keep getting the feeling, the cladding around the important areas in case of anything, if you do want to treat it a bit heavier in any way. Now, a little bit surprising to me is the fact that the tailgate isn't powered. I know I'm being lazy, and I know maybe you think it's unnecessary for me to comment, but at the price, which I'll get to just now, I think maybe it could have had that. Now, I can tell you now, this is a 1 Allen boot at most. I'm not even going to climb in today. 340 litres according to Subaru in this form, going up to just over 1,000 litres if you drop the rear seats, which you can of course drop in a split, which again you would expect. Under here, nice feature is the fact that there's a level loading lip. So that's good, but you've got a space saver spare wheel. At least there is a spare wheel, Subaru, thank you. I'm never going to complain about that. You know I complain terribly when there isn't a spare wheel at all these days. And you've got a decent cover over there to pull across. And as I said, really tough to have to close a tailgate manually on your own. Engine is, of course, Subaru's Boxer engine, 4-cylinder, 2-litre, putting out 115 kilowatts and 196 newton meters of torque to all four wheels with what Subaru call their symmetrical all-wheel drive system, which is the one they use on all their vehicles. So you've got that. The transmission is a CVT. We'll talk about that a bit more. Cruising around in the suburbia, as we always do, the first thing that strikes me about the Crosstrek is actually the fact of how solid it feels. Obviously, with features like the all-wheel drive and things like that, it's not going to be a lightweight car, and you don't expect it to be. So it really feels solid, it feels planted, it feels like a very substantial vehicle. And that's actually a very nice feeling, quite honestly. Now, the Crosstrek is powered by that 4-cylinder petrol engine that puts out 115 kilowatts and 196 newton meters of torque. And I know a lot of people would prefer the turbo engines that some of the Subaru models have, and some more power. And some people, whether it was the previous XV or now this new version that they've renamed the Crosstrek with some changes, a lot of people have said it's not a bit underpowered and they weren't that happy with it and things like that. Well, quite honestly, I think they're a bit wrong. This is not the STI, it's not the WRX, it's not one of those. This is your family compact SUV version. And that's what it's built as, and that's what it's meant as. And when you treat it that way, it does the job and it fits the role really, really well in my book. The CVT gearbox, must be honest, I think I've experienced slightly better in previous Subarus I've tested. And in this one, I did get more of the feel that this was a CVT, as opposed to so many newer CVTs that you don't even notice. But I'm being picky right now. On the highway, when you're cruising at highway speeds at 120, and especially if you then on say an uphill wanted to overtake, I did feel that. Now let's do our 3-point turn quickly. You know the route we take, and let's see, is it going to make it? Well, this one does, for a change, with a little extra wider piece, but it got round there, so that's nicely done. So just overall, I find this a pleasant place to be. We'll show you a lot of the features in the car in a few minutes. You'll understand why. It's highly spec'd, it's nicely spec'd, and quite honestly, it really, in that sense, to me, you're either a Subaru fan or you're not. Apparently, from what I've read previously and heard previously, they have a very, very high customer retention rate. In other words, people come back for another one. And that often says a lot. Loyalty, brand loyalty as they call it. So take that into account as well. And you'll see exactly what I mean about this car. And as we're on our favorite road, leaving Hearties for a change, so we're going to go up the hill, because this is such a good test of any car, of the power output, and in the case of a CVT gearbox, also the behavior and action of the gearbox is an important factor as well, as far as I'm concerned. So let's just see how it goes as we hit the steep part of the hill. And that's what I think you need to and want to see a lot of, don't you? So I'm going to just move across into the other lane, and let's put my foot down a little bit, and you'll notice that this is probably the only time that I will complain about the CVT on this Subaru Crosstrek, is that I do feel, as you get the revs up, and you'll see now the revs are going over 3,000, you can't see it, but there, did you hear it? Gear down 1, I'm coming up to about 100 kilometers an hour, and it's not bad, actually better than I thought it was going to be. It's smooth, it handles it well. It's coming certainly pulling pretty nicely on the uphill. Oh, excuse me for that. But I'm actually quite impressed. But now we're about to hit the steepest part of the uphill, so let's just keep it going and see how it feels. And I can tell you the all-wheel drive obviously is an absolute bonus when you're coming through the twisties and the curves on this highway. Now you hear that again, it gears itself down a bit. The revs now to hold about 100 k's an hour up this hill. Yes, I'm passing other traffic, you'll notice, but at about 100, it's sitting at 4,000 revs right now, and that's just geared a tiny bit higher than I would really like if it was my choice in the matter. But it's a small thing compared to the overall performance, behavior, comfort. The thing about the entire Subaru range is the feeling of being solid. They feel solidly built, they feel solid, and obviously the extra weight of the all-wheel drive system, things like that, you know you're behind the wheel of a substantial vehicle and not just a real lightweight little thing that's going to get blown around in the wind or not handle a dirt road or things like that. So that is a difference as well, and that makes a difference to me. And never forget what Subaru call their eyesight safety system. That's their active cruise control, their whole, the term thrown about these days is ADAS, advanced driver safety systems, and they certainly are among the leaders in those systems, and they're all built into this top model of the Crosstrek. Alright, so let's look behind the wheel now, and as we always do, the most important factor is the fuel consumption. Can you see over there? 8.2 litres per 100, with 90 kilometers still left in the tank. We've done 523 k's on this test, so we've given it a good test. Now 8.2 is an overall figure. I think most owners could achieve it. I've done a lot of urban driving, we've done a bit of a cruise, and I did that bit of dirt road, which you know is always going to have a bit of a negative effect on fuel consumption as well. So it's the overall figure, I'm not going to complain. You've got your multifunction steering wheel over here. It's got absolutely everything on it. And on this model, which we'll talk about a lot more just now, you've got your active cruise control and your adaptive, etc., all those things. And you do, although it's a CVT, have your flappy pedals, or not so flappy, but your pedals behind the steering wheel. These are all things you expect. This button over here is the S&I, the sport mode, and the intelligent mode over there that you have on the car for the all-wheel drive system, etc. Very neat. Trim, you can see again the carbon fiber effect, very prominent all over the place, and that's important as well. You come across, now there was a similar one in the previous model, but Subaru were among the first to adopt the tablet screen over here. It's a big screen. I'm not going to say it's a 12-inch or whatever it is, that's not important. It's there, it's substantial, you know exactly how it works. You've got built-in navigation, which is good, thank you for a change, I do appreciate that one. And of course Android Auto, which works really well, wireless or with a cable, you can choose, and you do everything through there. Lots of people complain, lots of people do not like the fact, for example, your aircon and ventilation, etc., all on the screen, although you do have buttons on either side there to up or down the temperature figures, and there's your demisters for the front and rear, and a good substantial knob for volume on the radio or on the sound system. Now over here, let's just have a look at the top. This is nice. Subaru called it X mode. You can see obviously we're in normal at the moment, but there you can just press for snow or dirt, and that one for deep snow or mud, and that's obviously what will gear the all-wheel drive system. Immediately below the screen you can see you've got USB A and C, and also an audio socket over there, and you've got your inductive charging pad below. Now you may or may not have noticed, and I hope you've noticed, that I have upgraded and got a new camera phone, etc., etc., which the inductive charging works on, and I must say I'm enjoying that. It's really nice. Over here you've got your traditional gear lever for auto, but of course, as I've said, it's a CVT, but so what, let's not go down there. That button takes you to the screen, and you can see your 360-degree camera system operates just by doing that And obviously, as per normal, also operates when you just put the car into reverse. I'm sure I'm telling you things there that are quite obvious to you. You've got another 12-volt socket over there, which is a useful little feature as well. Nice armrest, but that's all things you would expect. Now, there are two models in the Crosstrek range, two spec levels. And one of the big things is what Subaru call their eyesight safety system. And that really adds a lot of safety spec. And in fact, I'm going to read some of it to you, and you'll understand why. I mentioned LED headlights, I mentioned features like that. So you know about those. But what you've got, obviously, and it's the safety that I want to really concentrate on. You've got eyesight pre-collision braking, adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, lane sway warning, lead vehicle start assist. Now that's a really nice one. What that means is if you stopped at a red robot and the car in front of you pulls off, it tells you. And it also can work with your cruise control, where when you stop the active cruise control, it will pull off when that car pulls away. So it works on both of those, and I do really find that a nice feature. It's got traffic crawling and lane and traffic sign recognition. It's got pre-collision throttle management. It's got reverse automatic braking, and it's got intelligent speed limiter, lane centering control, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and it's got auto vehicle hold, airbags. Obviously it's got, I think, 8 airbags. I think you're getting my picture. They have pushed and pushed on the safety, and particularly on the top model in the range, which is the one we've got, the IS. You get an I as well, you find all these features, and it's really, really a lot of safety. And you know me, safety is what I want. Safety, a case where, although there's quite a big price difference between them, considering all the extra safety spec you get on this one, I know I would only ever look at the top model and not the one that doesn't have all the eyesight features like this one. You do also get a normal standard type sunroof on this car, just as a matter of interest. Well, you do also get from Subaru a 5-year 150,000 kilometer warranty and a 3-year 75,000 kilometer maintenance plan, not service plan, full maintenance. So those are what you get added in. So what's the price? Well, that's the important part, isn't it? As this one is now, the top model, 669,000 Rand. 669. Now it's difficult to compare because it's not quite as big as, for example, the Hyundai Tucson N-Line, which also gives you all-wheel drive, and that's why I'm mentioning that one, which comes in at 800,000 Rand, but is a little bit bigger than this. But I was thinking a lot, and I couldn't come up with another car this size that gives you all-wheel drive. And as I said, also Subaru owners are Subaru owners, and even though it's an all-wheel drive system, it's capable of doing some basic off-roading, dirt roading, things like that, which some of the others are far more soft road than this one is. So you've got to take that into account. It's the kind of car you need to drive for yourself to see how you feel, whether you like it, whether you don't. I can't really comment on that. I enjoy it. You know also, if you're a regular viewer of Motor Matters, you know the fact that I always like the uncommon, the unusual, or the left field choice, as I term it. And this certainly is one of those. I've enjoyed it, even if, as I pointed out earlier on, the CVT sometimes can be a little bit too CVT-ish, if that makes any sense. For Motor Matters, I'm Eleanor, and I'll see you next time.